You're listening to the REITE Club podcast, where the focus is all about helping you grow your real estate investment portfolio and live the life you want to live. Come grow with us and join our community at thereiteclub.com. And now your hosts, Sarah Larby and Alfonso Salemi.
You talked about your condo flooding, but what are some of the challenges that you experienced as a newer investors, getting started on your first, on your second, on your third? And I know we talked a little bit about the refinance, but have you faced any other challenges or things that you can say, hey guys, if you're brand new, watch out for this?
I was really blessed that the first two tenants I had were an absolute dream. The third tenant, he was short term. I don't want to say he was bad, but it was really hard to kind of manage him and the renovations, and he didn't want to live in the property. So I definitely had to take a little bit of a hit. And because there's not much cash flow in the property, I did have to kind of cover it myself, which I was able to do, thankfully. So I've been super lucky, and I just found some great tenants that just moved in this weekend. But it is work, I'm always trying to get in there and clean and make sure it looks the best it can, because as I've learned from all these podcasts, you want to attract the best tenant. You want to get the best rent for the property. So that was super helpful. I made notes, I made sure to follow everything you said, and I'm feeling good. So I've been super lucky that I haven't had too many problems besides the flood, but I mean, things happen. You have to, when you're in this business, you have to expect that they will, and you just can't get too upset about it. Prepare and get it done, get it fixed.
This is so cool. So someone who's been listening to the REITE Club's podcast and putting it into action, that's awesome. That's really great. So you mentioned renting a condo. So some condos, I assume when you bought, you inquired about rentals, because some condo boards don't allow them, and especially shorter term, sometimes it's not allowed. Is that something you investigated in, or?
No.
Okay.
All my other tenants had bid longer, and just with the way the market was in January, I was nervous about finding a tenant when my long-term tenant had left, and she was a doll. She was amazing. Like, I never heard a peep from her. She gave me her rent, like everything ran smoothly. So he just wanted something short-term. I'm like, hey, let me just deal with this so I don't lose too much. And then, the flood happens. So that was all good things. But it was definitely hard to deal with the renovations with the property management board. I must say it was quite frustrating. Same with dealing with insurance. But again, I'm super lucky. I don't know if I'm just lucky or what happened, but everything ran pretty smoothly.
Yeah, I think part of it is also your mindset when you get the calls of like your property's flooded, to the issues that you have to maneuver with the front desk and the contractor crew and the noise to the neighbors and that kind of stuff. But and you're probably making it sound super easy, but you're taking it really well as well, right? So like somebody else in your shoes, this might stress them out. They might not be able to sleep. And in a lot of the success in real estate, right? 95% of it is going to be your mindset.
1000%.
And what do you do? What do you do to feed your brain, your mind, keep positive? Like, what are some of the things that you can share?
My personality is definitely very positive, but I find if I think so negatively about a situation, I just get upset about it. So I just try and accept it for what it is and move forward. And my fiance is not like that at all. He gets pretty upset about things. So I kind of have to convince him. So that helps me convince myself. And just listening to all these people provide their experiences and this great advice. And it just keeps saying it over and over. You're going to have problems. It's how you handle them. You want to be able to sleep at night, but if you get stressed out like crazy over every little thing, it's not going to work for you. So I have no problems putting in the work, putting in the research, going all over the place to pick stuff up and getting stuff done in a short period of time. And you have to be open to that. You can't look at it like this is too much work. You have to be ready for it. And I'm okay with working hard. I'm 100% into this.
And I assume you work full time as well, or?
I do. I work for a aesthetics pharmaceutical company. So I'm in sales and marketing department, which has taught me so much about business and this whole mindset, because I'm treating this like a business and I want to make it my business. So I feel like I've had all great fundamentals and great teachers in my life to kind of set me up for success, as well as me doing my due diligence for the same thing. But you have to be prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. Preparation is key, but also taking action on that preparation is also very much important. You mentioned your fiance a couple times. It doesn't have to just be him, but as you know, it sounds like your parents were encouraging you to do this, and they're all pro for it, which, you know, in my situation, I'm fortunate as well. Like, I'm going to go buy real estate. They're like, okay, cool. Like, you know, have fun or whatever, you know, that's awesome. But you might have sometimes some pushback, right? Your friends are like, oh my God, I know somebody that like lost their shirt like 10 years ago on buying real estate or got a bad tenant. Or maybe your spouse has, you know, some reservations. What are some things that you can share about that with us?
Well, it's funny because my parents have never, well, my dad especially, like, he's like, I'm not into real estate investing, but they pushed me to do it. So I was like, what's going on here? But I think it's just, it is a risk, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to dive in and do this, like, whatever happens, I'll deal with it when it comes. And you have to have kind of that personality for sure. But when I started going on to property 3 and doing my research, and I'm telling my parents, my dad's like, why don't you just keep the condo, let it get paid off, and there's your retirement right there. I'm like, but I don't want that. I want more. And why wouldn't I if I can get it? Right. So I have the ability, and like, I'm so lucky with all this appreciation between the townhouse and the condo. I have 2 properties to leverage. And like, that was kind of an accident. Like, I didn't have the same mindset as I do now. So I'm going to take it and run with it. And, you know, some people may look at it like, why do you want more than 1 mortgage? Like, they look at it as a negative. I'm like, what are you talking about? So I talk about it probably too much, as I'm sure both you guys do as well, to your friends. They're kind of like, okay, is there anything else? But I just want to teach them that this is a great way to live your life and to be financially free and be successful, and you need to take it and go. So I don't get too much pushback, maybe because I don't let anyone give it to me.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, that's great. And it's also, you know, you've got a strong, you know, determination, and you've got, you know, your goals, and yeah, it's important not to let people get in your way. Have you, however, you know, because there's market cycles, as you know, markets go up, markets go down. I mean, it's done well for you. That's awesome. But, you know, how are you positioning yourself to potentially take a downside, or you know, what downturn of, who knows what's going to happen and what it's going to look like. But at some point things will change, or things will shift. For how long, when, nobody knows that. But, you know, have you taken any precautions or steps to also be able to ride a potential downturn wave?
No, 100%. So we have my conservative partner here who's always like, we need to have backup money. He wants way too much money, which I just don't think makes sense. So we've agreed on like a certain percentage per property to kind of have just put aside, just in case something happens, because, you know, you have to be prepared. I guess I'm a little different in the fact that I'm like, whatever happens, we'll deal with it then. And, you know, I do have my safety nets and everything, but again, I'm a little bit more like, let's go, let's do the damn thing, versus let's be prepared for every bad situation. So I think that's definitely something I need to work on, but I'm lucky that I have someone that's always kind of challenging my ideas. So I just, you know, don't flutter along, but I think about things thoroughly, just in case.
Yeah, no, for sure. That is, I mean, it is good. It's always important to have a plan, and it's important to put your plan in action, and then just have a backup and then a downside. And I agree with you. You don't want to necessarily have hundreds and hundreds of thousands in that account dwindling away through inflation. But can you take a year of potential crap that might happen?
No, for sure.
And what is that number? So, and at some point, this is where we see the difference between speculators and investors. Those who bought, you know, high prices, banking on appreciation. And it's great that you got the appreciation. I love appreciation too. And I think it's secondary, right? Like to cash flow. And one of the things that you're now doing going into Sudbury will give you the good cash flow, and they'll be able to, you know, you might not get as much appreciation as you might have in Mississauga, but it'll give you the cash flow, so that if you say, hey, if something happens and Sudbury goes down 20, 30, 40%. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but you've got your tenants still paying and covering your mortgage, so that you can take the down. And then when it comes back up, you're going to be fine as well. Any thoughts on that?
I think that's great. I've listened to a lot of debates on, you know, cash flow versus appreciation. And I feel like cash flow always comes out as number one. So I'm lucky that I do have that appreciation, and that's a great backside. You know, markets like Brampton and Mississauga, they just keep gaining in popularity. So they will have that appreciation, but just having that cash flow backup, I think it's a good balance. And I feel comfortable with that. And that's what I try and, tell people. They're like, why Sudbury? And I'm like, it's the cash flow. So really thankful for everyone to kind of give that feedback and that advice, because it's so valuable.
Thanks for listening to the REITE Club podcast and joining our community of real estate investors online at thereiteclub.com, where the focus is about helping you grow. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks from your hosts, Sarah Larby and Alfonso Salemi.